When you're hungry, nothing hits the spot like a nice plastic credit card. That's right. You did hear me right. The US body consumes enough plastic to produce one credit card a week. And you might be wondering yourself, well, I don't eat plastic. Well, that's where you're wrong. You do eat plastic in the trace amounts called plasticizers. They're in everything we pretty much consume, and we have been subjugated to this for over almost 100 years. Uh, Whether you like it or not, it's been affecting you. And it only has been recently brought into light from when Dr. Schwann was on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, where she has done decades of research on the effects of them with increasing infertility rates in women and men, as well as the shrinkage of genitalia in men and sperm count as well. Well, I'm going to break it down to where I'm going to discuss what plasticizers are, how they affect us as a population, what is our next steps in fighting them. So, what really are plasticizers? Well, they are chemicals that give plastics their durability aspect, Dr. Swan stated on the Joe Rogan podcast. And according to the National Institutes of Health, they're also known as phthalates. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that right. Uh, and they are in a wide range of products from fragrances, shampoos, nail polish, plastic Tupperwares. A lot of common items have been using this chemical compound for years, and we're exposed to them by eating and drinking foods that have been in contact with the containers contaminating those compounds. And the most uh, commonly used plasticizer is a thing called DEHP. It's a really, really long and complicated word, but the acronym is DEHP. Medical News reports on, and is an estimated 4 million tons of DEHP is produced each year. And you're wondering how this all started, and it basically started around in the 1950s. Tom Cleary stated in his heavy article. Well, now that you have a simple understanding of what plasticizers are, we're going to jump into how they are affecting the fertility and reproduction of the human population. Uh, it is a lot harder to get pregnant in a study done with people who have high levels of plasticizers in their bloodstream. It takes an average of 2 months plus longer time to get pregnant when you're wanting to become pregnant. Uh, the DEHP chemical disrupts cell meiosis, leading to birth defects. That really just makes the DNA break up too many times to where it becomes unstable and exposed to damage. And Down syndrome is a big birth defect attributed to this from Stephen and Stephanie in his Harvard article. And then for males, the plasticizer lowers male sperm count. Over the past century, there's been a documentation of the decrease of sperm levels in men over time. And from Tom Clary's heavy article recapping Dr. Schwann's time on the Joe Rogan podcast, she states by 2045 the median sperm count should be 0, and that is a very frightening number because that's only 20-ish years away. And it really showed when they started doing tests on rats, because they first went to rats and then they went to humans on it. And then another byproduct of it is that it alters the genitalia size in the boys of being smaller and smaller over years and years of documentation. And Dr. Schwann did a test in 2005 over it, comparing them at birth, and then it was published later in 2008. Well, now that you're aware of the effects, let's look into some solutions to it. The next Basically the next step is green chemicals. However, they are still in a developmental process today, and hopefully they're coming out as soon as they can. It makes it more environmental friendly for us, so there's not that plastic trace. Couple things besides, because this is all a lot of new stuff hitting the whole world at the moment. You need to be aware of your use with plastics. If you have something in a plastic container, do not heat it up in a microwave. Put it on glass plates and heat it in glass, or put on a napkin instead, but don't use plastic. You can really also use metal as well. Personally, I'm a fan of the Yeti tumblers and cups, also because they hold ice and all the other stuff longer. But it's just metal, and I'm getting iron back in me inside if it's really what you're looking at trace amounts. But also, a third thing to do is probably get blood work done. If you're really concerned about that, especially around if you are trying to get pregnant and have children, I would go get your plastic levels looked at. Well, in conclusion, plasticizers are in our everyday life, and the more we continue to use these products, the worse our situation is going to get as a human race. We need to push for other replacements as soon as possible, as well as bring them further into the light so that everyone can be aware of the extreme dangers that are present. So, because no one really knows about it, and it's only been since 1 year since they've been really publicized, and the CDC and the government has known about this for a while and have not broadcasted this information. And to sum it all up, basically we've been on this blind train ride, and we have been not aware of our dangers from our everyday items, from birth defects to low sperm counts. They are really destroying us from the inside out, and it's been a long, slow process over almost 100 years. And we need to find a solution, and it's going to be tough because the solutions are it's a slow process at the moment, and we need to, because you never know, in 500 years aliens could be the only one to survive the plasticizers. Thank you.